Yeah, pretentiousness of opening a video with a quote out of the way, it's pretty easy to call something a greatest hit when there's recency bias to be considered. I think for a game that's been going on for 9 years and counting, it's all too simple to say, oh, they just get better with each release, dude. And yeah, of course a game is going to refine itself and get into a rhythm with its content, but after a string of, let's say, poorly received releases, Dead by Daylight really needed a hit, and it's no doubt that they absolutely delivered on this one. In the weeks leading up to the release of this chapter, Behavior did something a little differently than usual. Primarily through Instagram, they shared a series of stories to their official page. The first was simple enough. It was a short story written in standard narrative prose about some diner workers doing their closing activities before they headed out for the night. One goes out for a smoke break and the other finds her phone on the ground when taking out the trash. She hears her coworker calling from the woods bordering the diner and goes in further towards the sound, eventually finding her and a larger, distorted figure speaking in her voice, seemingly replicating phrases and mannerisms, but in a warped, twisted kind of way. She ran back to the diner, locked the doors behind her, expecting the creature that took her coworker to come for her, but it never did. This first teaser set a precedent: a sleepy, small town surrounded by woods and a creature that looks humanoid but contorted and able to replicate the voices of others. This led many to believe that the killer would be some kind of creature from Native American folklore. There were a few guesses, but not any one creature was the consensus, but Behavior would later confirm outright that this wasn't the case. On to the next teaser. This is where things really get into the ARG aspects of the marketing. The framing is an email for a neighborhood group, establishing the setting of this chapter to be a town called Greenville. The email features audio attachments from a spooked neighbor on Green Peaks Road, asking if the group could identify any of these sounds, as the source was unknown. The third teaser continues this narrative through a string of text messages. In an exchange between partners, the messages follow one of them on their way home, worried about what they saw in their security camera notification. The one at home checks the backyard and sees nothing, but reports that their neighbor's dog is barking, then whimpering, but notably sounds wrong. Eventually, they stop answering their texts. The fourth teaser, another email, follows a university student, Danny, contacting the mother of his dorm roommate, Ryan. Ryan had taken a new trail on his daily runs and wasn't quite the same when he came back. When Danny got back to their dorm, Ryan was scribbling at his desk, which lasted into the evening. Danny's curiosity eventually got the better of him, and he found a multitude of drawings that Ryan had made. Even while trying to fall asleep, he could hear Ryan scribbling at his desk some more. Only one of these drawings was shown to us, the one that Danny sent to Ryan's mother. The fifth teaser moves from emails and texts to a messenger group called Movie Crew. One of the members found a phone belonging to their friend Sean, and something disturbing in the camera roll. The other members immediately recommend they get out of the woods, and that one member will be there as soon as possible to pick them up. The photo in question... Seeing a pattern here, going into the woods always leads to bad shit. As someone with hylophobia, I can confirm. It was at this point that the found footage angle really began to shine. Fans were still speculating on the folklore angle, but no one really knew what this was going to be, even with all the leaks, which, thankfully, were so vague that no one could really get a solid idea of what was going on. I have a rant about leaks in a bit. We'll get to it. On to the next one. The sixth teaser is where we get our first look at the star of the show. A security camera alert and a recording of the captured footage shows this. Only an arm and a leg to go on, but this one had people talking. We finally got a look at the newest killer, and it was in glorious 140p. Unfortunately, this teaser would have a bit of a negative effect on the chapter once it drops. We'll put a pin in that for the time being. I recalled this one while editing, and I don't know if this one counts as a true-to-form teaser like the others, but the official Dead by Daylight YouTube also did a live stream super late at night that was just a projector at a dilapidated movie theater. This immediately got people interested in the map for this chapter, which, if the palette loop was anything to go off of, was all but guaranteed to take place here. The live stream has since been taken down, so this picture is all I was able to scrounge up for it. This was posted by Carrie Lizard in Our Dead by Daylight, so credit to them for finding it, or snapping a shot of it, rather. Oh boy, we get to talk about my favorite one. So this last teaser, and this is the only officially designated teaser, was the one that really stole the show amongst the others. Instead of labeling it just Chapter 31 teaser or something generic, this video is simply titled, "This video is presented as found, it has not been edited."
I'm not sure if you can hear it, but there's something pacing around my tent.
This teaser. Holy fuck. Yeah, this one kicks ass. When I first saw this, I was like, holy shit, Dead by Daylight's actually scary again. This is insane. I absolutely cannot wait to see what this turns out to be. And this is all we had to chew on for like a couple weeks or so. And then, the official trailer, showcasing the chapter in its entirety, was released. Now, this trailer again uses a found footage framing device, and oddly, this one, the official chapter reveal trailer, seems to focus pretty much exclusively on the survivor till the very end. This, I think, is fair. All the teasers up to this point were showcasing the killer, so it's only appropriate that the survivor get her time to shine. Of course, we do get a glimpse of the killer at the end, the clearest one yet. The thing that stuck out to me when this trailer first dropped was, its name is the Unknown. The fuck? And what's with that goofy ass hair?
Maybe you got rid of that old yee ass haircut you got, you get some bitches on your dick.
Then I saw him in a PTB stream. When I saw that icon, I was like, yeesh, that neck. But then, the menu animation. Oh my god.
I don't like. Why does it have a hatchet just like Huntress? Ooh, no. 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 Oh, stop.
I will not deny my happiness.
Now, around the time that All Things Wicked came out, I was pretty much purely a Survivor main. I had so much performance anxiety as killer that I would get tilted, yell at myself, get frustrated, hate playing in general, and this caused me to take a lot of breaks from the game, which, I mean, that's healthy to do. Don't force yourself to play a game you aren't feeling at the moment, you'll just hate it more. but I really wanted to play as the Unknown. I wanted to main him purely because of the vibe, the scare factor, the presentation, and, you know, the power seemed readable enough that an amoeba like me can understand it. It has a high skill ceiling, sure, but I mean, I could get it, unlike someone like Artist, who I still don't fucking understand. I was someone who played the Oni, the Legion, and the Knight the most, and only infrequently played this role just to save myself the headache and the frustration. One day, very recently, however, I was encouraged by some friends to pick up the Unknown, after I said how much I really liked the killer in appearance and on paper. I was saying, like, I can never play the Unknown, even though I'd really like to, and I was met with a resounding, why not? I pleaded that I wasn't good enough at killer, and that he was too high skill for me to enjoy. I was told that this perspective was poppycock, balderdash even. I guess that was all the convincing I needed to hear. I hunkered down, shared my screen to an audience of just my pals, and not to my Twitch, I didn't want to be embarrassed, and got to work. I was going to get my pound of flesh and take as many L's as I needed to understand this killer. After playing him for some time, I think I finally reached that understanding, and I couldn't be happier with this game now. But enough of the anecdotes, let's get into the rundown. In essence, the Unknown's power has two parts. You shoot a ball of goo from an organ
He's pulling his cock out!
sprouting from the Unknown's neck, called the Unknown Venom X, or UVX for short. But I'm going to continue to call it goo, which basically works like a mortar or grenade launcher. The goo will bounce once when colliding with a surface and then explode. If a survivor is hit by the blast radius, they become weakened and will take damage for 1 health state if they're hit by the goo again while weakened.
Oh, what the fuck? I fucking get you.
If you shoot your goo at a survivor and it hits them directly, it doesn't explode for some reason and it will slow them down for a couple seconds. This fucking barely does anything. Behavior, why doesn't the goo explode when it hits a survivor? I want to know. When a survivor is weakened, they can remove this status effect over time by looking at the Unknown directly. This can and has led to some wacky chases in my experience, because once a survivor is weakened, you have to play peekaboo to land your next shot, otherwise you're a little bit fucked and back to square one. The second part of the Unknown's power is the teleport. Fuck. Every now and then you'll leave behind a husk, up to 4, that will serve as a beacon you can teleport to, with a cooldown of course. Survivors can remove these by being put into a 4-second camera-locked animation. The fact that the camera is zoomed in and locked onto a position just really does it for me, aesthetically, and absolutely adds to the horror elements that this chapter is in no shortage of. If you teleport to one of these as the Unknown while a survivor is cleansing it, they will scream, become weakened, and you'll have a brief killer instinct. Honestly, this has jump scared me from time to time, even when I'm the one playing the killer. Messed up so many of my basic attacks after I came out of it.
Hey, I'm gabagooing up in here.
That's basically the general need to know for the gameplay. I'll link a guide that really helped me in the description. That'll explain the nuances a lot better. All Things Wicked was a slam dunk in terms of presentation and personality, even down to the music. When I first heard the Unknown's chase theme, I was a bit lukewarm to it, to be honest. Thought it was just another washing machine theme, but it grew on me rather quickly. Also, since you, dear viewer, are the kind of person who watches Dead by Daylight themed YouTube videos, I'm willing to bet you'll know this. But if you listen closely, you can hear the Unknown's menu theme interwoven into the chase theme. I don't know why they did this, but it works. The Unknown is voiced by Zoe Alexandria, rest in peace, who provided both the male and female voices for the killer. Having done an absolutely fantastic job, the voice lines of the Unknown are really eerie and perfectly delivered with the distorted filter they use. These voice lines actually become clearer when a survivor is weakened, with the dominant voice, dependent on the skin, becoming easier to hear and without that filter I mentioned. I think it's an excellent touch. Interestingly, the official Steam description for this DLC describes the chapter as being related to analog horror, but I don't really see it that way. I would go as far as to say digital horror, if that's even a thing, because all the teases we've gotten have been from modern apps, programs, and devices that aren't exactly analog. I don't think analog horror really comes into play unless you just look at the Unknown and are like, distortion, scary face, uncanny valley. I think it's just saying this is a found footage or creepypasta type chapter is the way to go. Analog horror is very specific in terms of the medium and the genre conventions, but if you disagree or think it does fit analog horror, please let me know, because I might be off base there. Looping back to when I talked about leaks, I am just so glad that there wasn't anything too revealing this time around. I know the easy answer is just avoid leaks, bro, but I watch and read from a lot of creators that happen to bring up leaks when they're made apparent, so it's a bit hard to ignore them when they come. Hell, I knew about Castlevania coming since before The Unknown was released, and now I just sit here eagerly because Castlevania fucking rocks. Dude, I can't wait. I'm gonna play the shit out of Dracula.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
Fuck you! You fucking dick!
Fuck yeah. One leak that was revealing, but not too damning for my enjoyment, was that the map was a town and quote-unquote a goth girl survivor. In my opinion, this is fine to know in advance if I happen to run into a leak. Gives us an aesthetic, or subculture, basic map pitch, and not much else. Fine by me. Also, I'm never gonna be displeased at the prospect of a goth lady being added to things I enjoy. For the rest of the chapter, though, the leaks were so vague, contradictory, or unable to be nailed down to any one specific thing that could tell us what the killer is. And based on the lore, not only is that appropriate, but actually kind of meta. The lore for both halves of this chapter are extremely fitting for the vibe that All Things Wicked went for. On one hand, you have the Unknown, who we'll get to in a second, but then we have Sable Ward, or as I like to call her, Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway, or, alternatively, Feng Min 2. If you think Feng Min got an onslaught of skins and equal attention cakes before, you guys aren't prepared for the fucking tidal wave that's on its way. Mark my words. Sable's lore is written in such a way that I couldn't quite put my finger on it first, but eventually it hit me. Her lore is written like fanfiction. To me, it harkens back to the sort of thing I'd see on Archive of Our Own or DeviantArt.
What the fuck?
Sable's lore has such a "you don't understand me, it's not a phase," and the ever so dreaded "I'm not like the other girls" vibe to it that horseshoes back around to being charming in the sense of, yeah, this is the kind of character a teenager would write about. Maybe make the protagonist of their creepypasta even.
Daring today, aren't we?
I would now like to hit the low-hanging fruit of makes sense that all her perks involve being in the basement, lol. Now for the Unknown, its lore is told to us from the perspective of someone named Olivia that will either become a survivor in an original anniversary chapter like how Hattie did, or never be mentioned again. She's working on a master's thesis relating to urban legends, more specifically the Unknown itself. She came to the conclusion, after sifting through lore and directly making mention of Greenville, Michaela, and Sable, that the Unknown can be any number of things: an evil supernatural entity, an extraterrestrial, a failed government experiment, or just a regular old slasher. She makes mention of the Office of Strategic Services, which would eventually become the CIA and a few other agencies after 1945. Quick side note, by the way, she does mention the OSS conducting a Project Apple Pie, which takes place in the 1950s. Something isn't adding up, and I'm not sure if it's as intentional as Crows in South America from the artist's lore, which I maintain is intentionally some entity shenanigans. The easy route is to say that the CIA just picked up where the OSS left off, as it did with real-world projects, but it still originated from the OSS, so it gets the label? I don't know, I assume that's an easy enough hand wave, but I just couldn't go without mentioning it. Olivia's explanation connects to the design of this killer perfectly. The goo shooter and back-mouth tentacle combo suggests that it's an alien, the UVX tying to the government experiment angle, and the humanoid form and axe suggesting a run-of-the-mill killer, while the teleporting, voice-stealing, and creeping in the woods being a nice garnish of supernatural folklore stuff. Going back to one of those earlier teasers for a minute, this is the one that I was mentioning that people weren't so happy about when the killer came out, and that it sort of created expectations. A lot of people were thinking that the Unknown was going to crawl around, at least as its power, but I actually really like the UVX, and I think it works for its lore, so all in all, I wouldn't say this one's too damning, but just something I needed to mention. This killer is, in essence, everything you might think it is. The add-ons represent this as well, being able to sort of pick and choose elements of its potential lore explanations. I think that's extremely fun, and behavior should give the Unknown more skins, goddammit. What eventually comes to a head is that the more someone tries to understand and define the Unknown, the more it draws the Unknown to you, to make you its next victim. Kinda like how we're doing with this video. I think that this chapter is Behavior's best one, at least in terms of their original works. Hell, maybe even of all time. I'm flip-flopping on that because Resident Evil exists. I'm still not 100% on the map's layout and gameplay yet, but I haven't played enough on it as either side to really get a good perspective. I do, however, love the tone and atmosphere of it. Not considering the map, though, the Killer and Survivor are both instant classics in my opinion. To reiterate, I hope that they give the Unknown more skins because while the ones we have are pretty good, I want more wild and out there things that play around with the concepts from the lore. All I can say is, I hope that Behavior continues to create new, exciting stories for both Killers and Survivors like this chapter did. I've always been of the opinion that the original chapters are always more exciting than licensed ones, because we get to see something brand new. Sure, sometimes there's some misses, but when it hits, it's wonderful. I, for one, can't wait to see what comes next. To wrap things up, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I apologize again for taking such a long break. My mind has not been kind to me recently, but I'm on my way back with all that. I have some really fun stuff planned, and I very much encourage you to stay tuned.
No.
Also, I don't want to hear a fucking word about this. You let me have this, goddammit.